The saloon doors groaned open like a coffin lid. Heat poured in behind the man who stepped through, dust clinging to his boots, the sun still burning on his shoulders. The piano stopped. Cards froze midair. Even the flies seemed to wait. He didn't look around, just limped to the counter, slow, deliberate, every step sounding heavier than it should. His coat brushed the floor. His hat shadowed his face. When he spoke, his voice was rough from sand and silence. "Water." The bartender poured from a cracked jug. No one said a word. Out on the street, boots shuffled, spurs clinked, and the wind scraped grit along the wooden planks. Through the window, the sheriff and his men were dragging a line of women and children into the street. The youngest cried out, one sound, sharp enough to slice through the silence inside. The man at the counter didn't move. He lifted the tin cup, drank, and kept his eyes on the dust outside. The sheriff's voice carried. These folks didn't pay their dues. McCall's land, McCall's law. You want to live here, you obey it. He smiled wide enough for everyone to see the gold in his teeth. "Boys," he said, loud enough for the town to hear, "choose any woman you want. Make it quick. Let Red Creek remember who owns it." Laughter followed, ugly and nervous. The man at the bar set his cup down. The sound was small, but sharp. He stood, slow, like something rising that shouldn't have to anymore. His boots found the light from the window, and the dust in the air turned gold around him. The sheriff noticed him then. "Well, looky there," he called. "Got yourself a death wish, stranger?" No answer. The stranger's hand hovered near his coat, not on his gun, just resting there, like he was feeling the weight of memory. The women stood trembling, the children clutching skirts. Then, from the crowd, two small voices whispered, soft, terrified, but clear. "Papa, that's her." Every man turned. The sheriff frowned. What did they say? The stranger's jaw tightened. His shadow stretched long across the dust. The wind caught his coat, lifted it slightly, revealing the faint outline of a revolver that hadn't seen daylight in years. The sheriff's grin faltered. "You know these kids, mister?" The stranger looked down at the girls, two pairs of eyes full of something that didn't belong in this place. Hope. He tipped his hat lower, just enough to hide whatever was in his stare. "No, Sheriff," he said quietly, "but I reckon I know what comes next." The street went still again. A dog barked once, then fell silent. The heat shimmered between them like glass ready to shatter. And in that moment, before the first move, before the first gun, every man in Red Creek felt it deep down, the kind of quiet that only comes before something legendary. The blow came fast. A rifle but cracked across the stranger's ribs, driving him into the dirt. He didn't flinch, just rolled once, hand pressed to his side, eyes cold as river stone. "Should have stayed out of this, Drifter," one of the sheriff's men spat, wiping sweat from his neck. "Ain't your fight." The stranger's voice came low, rough. "Ain't yours neither, if you got a soul left." The man hesitated. The sheriff barked, "Leave him. We'll deal with him come morning." Boots stomped away, spurs jangling into the dark. The women were herded off, the street falling quiet again, except for the wind stirring loose paper and a dry whistle through the hitching posts. The stranger stayed on his knees for a long moment, watching the last lantern fade from the saloon window. Then he stood, brushed the blood from his shirt, and limped toward the stables. Moonlight stretched across Red Creek like old silver. Behind him, two small figures followed, barefoot, silent. When he reached his horse, he spoke without turning. "You shouldn't be here." The older girl's voice trembled. "They'll hurt her, mister. Please." He froze. The night carried her whisper like a prayer. "They took Mama. They said she belonged to McCall now." He turned slowly, lantern light trembling in his hand. "What's your name, girl?" "Sarah," she said. "And this is June." The little one hid behind her, clutching a broken doll. He knelt. "You got a father?" Sarah looked down. "They killed him. Sheriff said he stole gold from their claim, but it was his land. He found it first." The stranger's gaze dropped. His gloved hand flexed once, then reached up to his neck, tugging loose the leather cord beneath his shirt. A rusted badge swung from it, catching the moonlight. U.S. Marshal stamped in tarnish. "What was his name?" he asked. "Jacob Hamlin. Silence. The horses shifted uneasily. The lantern hissed. He pulled off his glove. On the back of his hand, the girl saw the faded tattoo burned into the skin. H. Hamlin. He whispered, not to them, but to the dirt at his feet. He was my brother. Sarah's breath caught. The younger girl stared up, wide-eyed, as the stranger's voice turned heavy with the kind of pain that comes from years of keeping quiet. Your father was a better man than this town deserved, he said. Tomorrow, that changes. The wind rose again, pushing dust through the stables, making the lantern flame tremble. The girls clung to each other as he reached for his revolver, spun the cylinder once, slow and careful, like he was winding up fate itself. Then he holstered it, looked toward the saloon where a single light still burned upstairs. Go find a safe place, he said. Don't come out till the shooting stops. He saddled his horse under the ghostly light, the creak of leather the only sound. And somewhere in the darkness, Red Creek began to hold its breath. The morning came hard and red, the kind of light that turns dust into fire. The stranger stood alone in the center of Red Creek's main road, his coat buttoned, hat low, the brim shadowing his eyes. Beside him, his horse waited, still, silent, a shovel tied to the saddle. Doors cracked open. Faces peered out from behind curtains. The town watched, holding its breath. The sheriff stepped from the jailhouse, chewing on a toothpick. 6 men fanned out behind him. He squinted into the glare. You got a death wish, mister? The stranger's voice carried across the empty street. No, just unfinished work. A rusty badge hit the dirt between them, catching a flash of morning light. The sheriff looked down, then back up, a flicker of recognition tightening his jaw. You Hamlin's kin? The stranger didn't answer. His hand hovered near his belt. The wind dragged a line of dust between them, like the mark of an unseen grave. Your brother was a fool, the sheriff said. Could have joined us. Could have lived. He did live, the stranger said softly. Till you took that from him. The sheriff spat. Boys. The first shot cracked like thunder. Then another. Gunfire tore through the street, echoing off the false fronts and empty porches. The stranger moved slow, deliberate, not fast, just right. Every squeeze of the trigger was measured, clean. A man dropped with each pull, boots kicking dust, hats tumbling. One of McCall's men tried to run. The stranger's bullet found him before he reached the corner. Another tried from the balcony. His rifle clattered to the boards, blood dripping between the slats. Smoke curled through the street, thick and choking. The sheriff fired twice, missing both. The stranger stepped forward through the haze, his limp dragging, his eyes burning through the dust. Drop it, he said. The sheriff's hand trembled on his gun. You can't win, Hamlin. This town's already dead. Then I'll bury what's left. They stared across the last stretch of dirt, sun blazing behind them. For a heartbeat, everything stopped, the smoke, the wind, even time itself. The sheriff drew first. The stranger's gun barked once. The sheriff staggered, looked down at the black spreading across his vest. He sank to his knees, breath rattling. Choose any woman you want, he rasped, smirking through blood. The stranger stood over him, reloading with calm precision. I already did, he said. I chose justice. He holstered the revolver, turned toward the saloon. The girls watched from behind a wagon, clutching each other, eyes wide as dawn. The sheriff fell face first into the dust. The stranger didn't look back. The sound of his spurs faded slow and steady, each step marking the end of something, and the beginning of a legend. The shovel bit into the dirt with a dull, steady rhythm. Each thrust broke the silence a little deeper. The stranger's breath came hard, blood darkening the side of his coat, but his hands didn't stop. The sheriff's body lay nearby, face down in the dust where the badge still gleamed beside him. The town watched from their windows, silent, afraid, uncertain if they were witnessing a man's dying act or something holy. The sun sank low, painting the world in copper and blood. When the grave was done, he lifted the body, lowered it in with quiet care. He stood there a long while, hat pressed against his chest, eyes fixed on the hole as though waiting for the earth to breathe again. Then he spoke, voice rough and near breaking. Justice sleeps light. he said. Best you remember that. A wind rose out of nowhere, sweeping through the street, rattling signs, carrying the scent of gunpowder and heat. The little girls stepped from hiding, their faces streaked with tears and dust. The older one held the younger's hand and whispered, "Papa, is he gone?" The stranger turned to them, pain and something gentler flickering behind his eyes. He crouched, reached out, brushed the dirt from the younger's cheek. "He's free now," he said, "and so are you." The older girl's lip trembled. "You're bleeding." He smiled faintly. "Won't be for long." He straightened, adjusted his hat, and walked to his horse. The animal whinnied low, sensing the weight of what came next. He pulled himself into the saddle slow, steady, the sky burning orange behind him. Someone in the crowd called out, "Marshal, what we do now?" He looked back once, his outline framed against the dying light. "You live," he said. "You do better than we did." The horse turned, hooves striking sparks as it moved toward the desert road. Dust rose behind him, swallowing his trail, until there was nothing left but the whisper of wind and the slow creak of the town sign swinging overhead. By the time the first star showed, the stranger was gone. Years later, folks still tell it the same way around the fire. The story of the man who came limping out of nowhere and left Red Creek clean again. Some say he died out there beneath the cottonwoods, the girls burying him beside their mother. Others swear they've seen him ride through at dusk, same gray eyes, same old hat, heading toward another broken town in need of fixing. And when the wind picks up through Red Creek's empty street, carrying dust through the old saloon doors, the old-timers say you can still hear him, spurs ringing soft, voice fading low as the dusk.